Good afternoon to you, our viewers at home. Welcome to Open Studio. You're tuned into Cape Town TV, channel 263. I'm your host, Taban Sakaicho. On today's program, we've got such an exciting guest. He's actually from a company called Container Intermodal Trading CC. And what the company does, it does everything to do with infrastructure, but quite not the way you understand it, in a very interesting way. So I think you're going to find this program rather very interesting and very informative. For many of you at home who don't know, Open Studio is the longest running show right here at Cape Town TV. It's a show that avails a platform for our community members to come in and speak about that which they do in and around the community. Anything from community uplifting projects to initiatives. You are more than welcome to come in as our guest. Mr. Kashif Schroeder, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Tabang.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you myself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for making the time to come through.
My
So
pleasure.
we're going to go straight to it before we find a little bit more about who you are.
Sure.
What exactly is a flat pack container?
A flat pack container, essentially, Tabang, is a structure that can be assembled and deassembled in a short relative space in time. It also creates instant space, and it also creates a space where anybody that wants to use it can use it in a safe and a secure environment.
All right. So you are the owner and the co-founder, right, of your company,
is correct, yes.
CIT. When did you decide to run with this concept, and how did that actually come about?
Well, flatpacks has been around for about the last 10 years already, but relatively new in South Africa. And the main reason for that is because we are a brick and mortar nation.
Right.
We love brick, we love cement, we like digging out in the ground. But I think as we realize, as we start moving in terms of where the world is going, how long do we need to hold on to something? But we need something that's quick.
That's right.
Instant. And so our mindset is slowly but changing as South Africans, that we need space and we need a place to be. And that is where flatpacks come into effect, where we can just bring it into the country, erect it, and when it's no longer needed, we can disassemble it again.
Right, you mentioned something about, the way we actually construct our houses, our huge buildings, it can be quite costly, So I would assume that there has been probably a high demand for the flat packs that you actually offer in the country. Or would you say not so much, because people are trying to think, what exactly is that, right? Because it's about introducing a new product and people warming up to it. How has that been for you?
We're finding that South Africans are slowly but surely realizing that this is an alternative.
Okay.
Although I would say that it might be a medium term solution. We as Africans are starting to think, well, okay, this can actually work for us. Some South Africans are still skeptical as to what the security of it, because at the end of the day, we are looking at sandwich panels that are being used as the end walls and also the roof. But, like most things in life, nothing lasts forever. So therefore, we need to just change our mindset to think that the flat pack is an alternative, but also not a permanent solution.
Right. So how long have you been in this industry?
I've been in shipping, in fact, all my working life, and it's quite scary to think that's probably over 20 years plus already. But I got introduced to shipping containers probably in about the last 15 years of my working career. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting little journey, to say the least.
Wonderful. So you say that the containers are for an intermediary usage. How would you say they are different from your typical windy houses, or maybe, the shacks that are built out of zinc? What makes them unique?
Well, I think the most quickest way to differentiate the two is the fact that windy houses are made out of wood. And even the new tech ones also is made out of a wood composite. But with these flat pack containers, they are sandwich panels used, and those sandwich panels are usually fire retardant, up to something like 12 hours. So therefore, for 12 hours of fire, it will not burn.
That's
so
amazing.
that is one of the biggest trump cards that we feel is the safety around these flat packs as opposed to windy houses. We all know that a windy house, once you take it apart, it always breaks, and you have to get all these carpenters involved just to get it fixed up again. Whereas a flat pack, it comes in a modular pack. It gets assembled and it gets deassembled. You've got bolts and you've got silicone and sealant that keeps everything together. There's no need for welding, there's no need for chopping of nails, there's no need for any sort of flash band to keep it together, none of that kind of stuff.
That's amazing. So, okay, say I'm a client, right, and I'm wanting to buy that. Can I assemble it myself, or does a team come out to actually do that? And does it come with various sizes, or is just a standard size across the board?
The standard sizes is basically 6 meters by 2.4 meters in width. Now, that can be modified in the sense that you can stack maybe 3, 4 next to each other, but taking out the side walls, and then you've got extra floor space. In terms of erecting it, it's not complicated. We've got a lot of videos online that shows how to do it. The only challenging thing that you might find, Tabang, is maybe lifting up the roof. But I mean, with a few brute force and a few strong guys, you should be able to do it yourself, kind of thing. And this is what we're trying to promote at the moment, is that you don't need to aggravate yourself with a building contractor, with a plumber, with an electrician. You know, when these things come ready-made for you, again, I said, it might not be a permanent solution, but it could be a good medium-term solution.
Right. So given the current circumstances, I want to speak a little bit more about what's happening in the public sector. We understand that our hospitals and our clinics are actually overwhelmed right now. The system cannot hold, you know, the capacity at this point. Have you had any requests for the usage of your flat pack containers in terms of expansion on hospitalization from various hospitals across the country?
Yeah, there's been quite a good demand for these types of flat pack containers, especially in the rural parts in South Africa. You know, with COVID and where things just knocked us for a 6, there wasn't a lot of time to plan.
That's right.
Like, give you an example. China, when they found out about COVID, they were able to erect hospitals in 1 week, and they used flat pack containers. They didn't go build anything from out of the ground. They had what they had available at their disposal, and they used flat pack containers to create and build all these modular and mobile clinics. And it worked for them. We're using it in South Africa. Some hospitals are using them as well. So it's just a matter of being able to find, hey, I don't need to go into a big, massive hospital. What's important is getting the treatment.
That's right. That's right. And the period or the longevity of each container, how many years or months are we looking at?
We've seen some flat packs in the field being out there for over 25 years already.
That's really good. That's really good. That's
right,
considering the fact that, you know, it's cost effective and it's durable. It's actually a safer alternative to what we are used to actually erecting rather as a temporary residence. Using these containers in classrooms, I want to unpack that a little bit more because we're going to be going onto the break. I'm assuming you're also handling that aspect, right, in terms of giving public service to schools and other areas within the community. So when you come back, I just want you to unpack that a bit for us.
Sure.
All right. So when you come back, we're going to carry on with the conversation with Mr. Kashif. Don't go away. You're watching Open Studio. Welcome back. I'm Taban Sakaichu, your host. This is Cape Town TV, channel 263. We're speaking all things construction, all things housing. So I'm so glad that you could join us today. So, Mr. Kashif, before we went on to the break, I was just alluding to the fact that I would like you to just expand a little bit more about the benefits, obviously, of the containers, but also how you've been of service, especially when it comes to our school systems, because we understand with the social distancing, there has been a need for classrooms, but it's impossible right now to erect the classrooms. So how has that experience been for you?
Well, thinking about the question reminds me of when I was at school, and I grew up in Grassy Park, and prefab structures wasn't something new. My first primary school was a prefab structure. So now all that we've done, we've taken the prefab structure and we've improved it. And now you've got a modular structure now. And this modular structure is obviously constructed out of polystyrene panels that have the stainless steel ends, or let's call it the sandwich panel kind of thing. That is usually about between 40 to 70 mil thick. So that, in terms of security, safety and comfort for a child, is more than adequate.
That's good.
We find that schools are using these modular structures. Again, education is important, but unfortunately we just don't have enough schools.
That's right, yes. And how many scholars just on average can fit in, how many learners rather can fit in each of those classrooms that you guys?
Well, we find that if you join 2 of these containers together, and again removing the sides, you're basically getting about, 28 square meters, and that usually can fit about anything between 20 to 30 learners in.
Oh wow, that's quite a decent size.
Well, under normal circumstances,
Yes,
but
given
now with
exactly
COVID
that,
now,
of
obviously with
course,
social
you've had to
distancing, you might have to half that sort of number down there.
But imagine the amount of money that's been saved from rather than constructing an extra, classroom and all that, in the time frame.
Yes, absolutely. Besides the amount of money being saved, look at the dignity of the child that's getting a quality education as being taught under a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
where we find
Exactly,
some schools are
and
still
it's still
in the
happening
rural
right
parts of
now.
South Africa.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
So if you look at the dignity and the safety and security of the child that these flat pack containers offer.
All right. I understand that your flat pack containers also can come in quite handy as sleeping quarters. Is this something that is only open to clients, or are you also looking at addressing the homelessness, especially in Cape Town?
I think the homelessness is actually quite something that would benefit a lot from flat pack containers. And maybe municipal government, local government, provincial government might want to look at that. Because we find that homeless people seem to migrate between different areas. And
That's
it might be
right.
because they find a small short-term working employment in that area, and that's where they go and they erect their tents and stuff like that. How safe is it? We hear every day about homeless people being abused, homeless people being victim to sort of crime. So therefore, if we can give these people a place where they can at least have a good night's sleep, where they feel safe, and where their belongings feel safe, that is what the flat pack should be able to provide for some of
Yeah.
these homeless people
Yeah, I
that are in
absolutely
dire need
agree.
of it, I think, you know.
That's
Winter's
right.
coming, if it's not here already. Imagine how these people are sleeping outside.
Right.
In a flat pack container, again, I said, the panels are sandwiched, so therefore the climate is somewhat controlled. We never find that these flat pack containers, the temperatures, even in summer, goes more than 22, 23 degrees. And in winter, it at least plates an ambient temperature for them. So therefore, you'll never freeze to death inside of them.
All right. So in relation to government, when it comes to government, But anyway, have you actually approached them to actually present this kind of solutions? And if so, because there are many different infrastructural needs right now, in the country in terms of servicing the public. If you have approached them, what was their response? Is there hope that these are going to become the norm, especially right now where it's necessary?
I think so much, where confusion comes into play is that maybe government have promised people free housing, and the term housing, people are expecting a brick and mortar house.
That's right.
So maybe it's something that maybe government needs to engage with public and find out, look, when we offer housing, it might not be a brick and mortar house, it might be a modular home. Would you be okay with that? So it's also, again, informing people about the options that are out there at the moment. I would again say that flat pack containers are a medium solution, whereas we're saying, instead of looking at the structure itself, look at the space that you're on.
Right.
Land is something that we're not going to be able to produce again.
Yeah, and the fact that you're able to use it and
That's
it's
good, yes.
functional,
That's good,
safe
yes.
as well.
That's right,
Right. As job creation, we understand is of utter importance. We know that the level of unemployment in the country has just shot to great heights. Using these containers to create offices and boardrooms, etc. What has that workspace, been like for those who are stepping into it? If you've already serviced clients in relation to that.
I believe that entrepreneurs are the backbone of South Africa. But the huge problem with entrepreneurs is capital.
Yes.
Some entrepreneurs might not have access to capital, to working capital, infrastructure capital. So what's important is to be able to say, look, if you don't have the money to build an office, we can provide you with a flat pack. Either we can buy it or you can rent it. But at least you'll have a space to be able to promote your business, work, and to be able to get things going.
Right. For somebody that's watching right now and thinking, I feel like that's the best solution I've been looking for out there, and they are wanting to purchase one or perhaps rent one, what is the process that's involved in realizing that?
In terms of purchasing of it, the flat packs range between different profiles, different kind of modification requirements as per the customer. But in terms of ballpark figures, you're looking at anything between 45 maybe to 65,000 rand, and that would be for one of those units, of the flat pack units. That's correct. And that is erected as well.
Erected.
Set up everything, yes.
Yes, and are there options for one to rent, maybe from your company, those that are?
We do have rental option as well. There are some rental criteria that needs to be fulfilled. A rental contract needs to be set up. There's a credit vetting process as well. But in terms of monthly rentals, you're looking at anything between 1,500 to 1,800 rand per month.
That's unbelievable.
It's competitive, eh?
Highly.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a really good price, especially right now. So I want to speak a little bit more about the construction that's involved in each container. What really goes into it and what does the process look like? I'm asking this particularly in relation to everything going green and everything has to be environmentally friendly, etc. Are those materials recyclable? You've said that they are safe, which is wonderful. So what actually is involved? Do you know what happens behind the scenes, rather?
I was recently on a construction site because one of our units was over there. And believe it or not, the majority of space besides the building was building waste. And we were talking about truckloads of building waste that had to be driven away and taken to a landfill and stuff like that. We, as consumers, we think, well, once it leaves there, it's not really our problem at the end of the day. But it affects the environment, it affects Mother Nature. A flat pack container has no impact whatsoever on nature. We are not using any sort of water that's going to be used, contaminated and thrown into the stormwater or in the sewage system or something like that. There's no sort of pollution, there's no carbon dioxide that's been pushed into the environment. So it's 100% eco-friendly.
Yeah,
and again,
it's really good.
you have very, very minimum building waste that actually comes from it. If anything, you probably have the packaging that the flat pack comes from that needs to be discarded. And that's about it.
Right, wonderful. So probably some of our guests are thinking, well, I need to get your contacts, I need to know which website to visit. How do they actually get a hold of you in order probably to pursue that order or to find out more about your product?
No problem. We can be contacted on our office number, which is 021-705-1724, and then our website is www.citcontainer.com.
Right. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. I found this quite informative and very helpful. I hope you have as well. So don't go away. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. Welcome back. You tuned into Open Studio. I'm your host, AThe, and today, like I did say on the segment earlier on, we are speaking all things housing. I feel like today's segment is so informative and really, really helpful, especially if you are on the market for a house right now or probably wanting to erect some sort of building or infrastructure. I really think this program is actually for you. And on the show, again, sir, thank you so much that you made the time to come here so you could share and really expose us rather to that which is available, because I had no idea we have this out there. So it's quite exciting. Thank you so much again for coming through. So say I'm a buyer, right? Buyers don't really know a lot about the materials, what's involved, what to look for, what not to look for, especially when they're buying a product, especially a product that is sort of like unfamiliar and they're having to make, that kind of decision. So what advice would you give somebody right now if they are going out there, say for example, they don't come to your company, which is AThe, and they are looking at other suppliers out there, what critical information or advice would you give them in terms of these are the must-haves, the things to actually look for, to ask about, especially when you're about to make that decision or choosing to buy that particular container?
I think buyers must do as much research as possible. Ask about the company, find out about their track record. Ask if they've got references. Ask if they're able to share some of the references, contact details, and get hold of them. Find out how was their experience dealing with the company. Make sure that the product that you're buying, the flat pack that you're buying, is compliant with your local municipal bylaws, in the sense that, they might need to have 4 windows as opposed to 3 windows because of the area space. Also find out the company that you're dealing, if they are a reputable company, how long have they been in existence? Are they a fly-by-night operation? Are they just to make you quick money, take your money and run away? And most importantly, find out if you're getting a good experience. Are you getting the best deal? We work hard for our money to buy.
That's right,
so therefore, you as the consumer, you want to make sure that when you're parting over with those hard-earned money, you're going to get the best deal possible for you. And maybe lastly, after sales. If there's a problem with the flat pack after it's been erected and it's been handed over, maybe the door doesn't close. Are they going to come out and service the container? Are they going to come make sure that they can sort out all the problems that you have afterwards, or they're just going to say, sorry, we're done with you now, goodbye? So those are the things that I would probably recommend if you're dealing with a contractor or a container flat pack operator that they must have.
Very eye-opening indeed. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you mentioned municipal bylaws. Yeah. Can you that's something that, again, most consumers don't actually, pretty much they are aware of it, but nobody really goes there and makes the time to dig in to find out what exactly are those. Would you care to just mention some of those that would be applicable in this case? Sure,
absolutely. So in certain areas, and I think it probably depends on the area that you live in. If you feel that you might need an extra room at the back and you look at taking a flat pack container, check with your local ward councillor. Is there any sort of bylaws that prevents you from putting down this sort of temporary structure? Because it might be used for living space, council might require that you get a plan for it, or you might need to get approval from your neighbours around there. But most importantly, as I said, check with your local ward councillor if he or she knows of any sort of restrictions for you putting this down before you go and embark and spend your hard-earned money on buying one of these flat pack containers.
And then you're getting told that, sorry, you can't actually, you're not allowed
That's correct,
to
yes.
set up that.
Give it a joke. One day we did one of these units in Constantia, and after we were done, the owner came back to us and said, listen, guys, you need to come back to site. And we asked why. He said, no, the neighbors were complaining. The container needs to be sprayed a green color as to match in with the environment kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
So therefore,
Okay.
all these sort of things, you need to ask questions about it before you embark on it.
So it's really about research and more research and be
Absolutely.
informed so you're able to make an
Ask
informed
questions.
decision. Ask questions.
Ask questions, yeah. Don't be shy.
100%. And in terms of your company, CIT, what are the value-added services would you say you offer in terms of, I've come in, I've bought the container, what can I expect thereafter?
Well, we stick to our word, first of all. And I think because of the years' experience that we have in the industry, and this is not something that I'm saying that we've earned over the years, you can rest assured that you are getting sound advice. And if there's anything that you feel that you are not, have been given or been promised, we will hold to our word. And if you feel that you need to go with another company and you want to still use our advice on a consultancy basis, we offer that service as well, where we can hold your hand through the entire process.
Wonderful. You know, I like to ask this question a lot because it really brings the matter close to home. So I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of clients. For you, which would be your highlighted experience, or rather your most challenging of experiences when you were actually giving this service? And what are some of the clients, your clients actually saying with their experience with this living or other using the container? How do they find it? Because they have to adjust, and what is the experience like for them?
I think for us, the most challenging experience is always is working remotely. And when I talk about working remotely, when you're working in the bushveld kind of things, because people feel maybe they want to put up a little unit overlooking the lake. We've done that once already, a little flat pack, and it was beautiful. I mean, this client had this huge lake, and we had this unit put up with there. She was using it as an art studio, but snakes is always a challenge.
Of course. Next to a lake, yeah, you gotta find those.
And any sort of venomous reptiles that it's not.
The black mambas.
Yeah, so that's always a challenge that we find when you're working in remote areas, snakes.
But other than that, you're doing just fine.
We try our best, but it comes with the job, but we enjoy what we do. But it is what it is. So,
yeah. Just another day in the office.
Another day in the office, chasing puff at us.
100%. 5 to 10 years from now, where do you really see, your company going, considering that we are in the new normal and as things are unfolding? Or what is it that you foresee, or would you like seeing happening, especially in relation to unemployment and certain maybe imparting of skills, or absorbing, especially probably those that are keen to join such industries but don't have access, and they actually have fallen in love with what your service does? Is your company maybe open to considering that, to provide skills for previously disadvantaged communities? Or rather, what do you see in 5 to 10 years from now, considering all that?
We'd like to grow our business, in a very structured way. But I think more, if I can be an advocate for entrepreneurs, say that maybe in 4, 5, 10 years' time, I'd like to see government give more support to entrepreneurs, especially small businesses. SMEs are the backbone of industry. We are essentially the ones employing people.
That's true.
I'd like to see government ease the red tape around business at the moment, reduce the amount of admin work, because sometimes
Red tape's gotta go.
as a business owner, you spend so much time just on admin work and complying with government legislation and statutory requirements. And those things really weigh you down. You as an entrepreneur, you've got a creative flair.
That's right.
That creativity needs to come out.
Yeah.
But if you've been bogged down with government restrictions, statutory requirements, and admin work, it just hinders things. So from my side, if I would want to wish, was government to ease some of those things and give a bit more to support entrepreneurs, whether it be SMEs, the informal trader, the guy that's standing on the road selling popcorn or selling vegetables. He's contributing to the economy.
That's very
Directly
true.
or indirectly, he's contributing. So a bit more government involvement, I think.
I wouldn't agree more. So government involvement is key to having a sustainable economy, especially where SMEs are concerned and small businesses. Really, that is something I believe you also, as a viewer on the other side of the screen, can definitely resonate with. So for now, thank you so much, sir. I just want to say thank you so much for making the time to come through today. And I've learned quite a lot, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all for us for today. Thank you so much, our viewers at home, for tuning in. It's myself, Taban Sakaicho. A good afternoon to you from Open Studio, Cape Town TV, channel 263.